You've travelled far to be here with your former comrades and to share a special moment in time together. Sadly, as the rule of honour demonstrates all too clearly, a lot of our fallen comrades cannot physically share this unique occasion with us, but we believe their eternal spirit moves amongst us here this evening, and we welcome that. For a lot of us, the journey from 1981 to the present day has been a difficult one. And for some of us, that journey has been even more difficult a terrain to cover than the journey which led to 1981. The psychological scars might not be visible, but they do run deep. The brutal and epic battle against Britain's criminalisation policy within the H blocks of Lancash and Armagh Women's prison has left many casualties, both within the prisons and on the outside. The legacy and aftershock of that criminalisation policy continues to overshadow many lives even to this day. For some of us, the prison struggle not only drained us emotionally and spiritually, but left a hole in our souls which may never be properly filled. It was 30 years ago, but for us, it was only yesterday. Even now, 3 decades later, the battle scars are still fresh if we dare to scratch the surface. While the blanket protest from 1976 to 1981 was a pivotal and historic turning point in Irish history, it is also a period which contains deeply private and personal memories. Time numbs little of the sorrow as one by one our comrades and brothers died on hunger strike amongst us. As each one of them died, a part of us died and went with them. And coming to terms with their deaths has been and still is an enormous challenge, maybe because Blanketmen were much more than comrades, they were brothers. So therefore our loss has been felt much greater. When I first went on the blanket protest on the 5th of October 1977, little did I realise that over 4 years later I would still be there. Initially, a lot of us felt that this was a mere prison protest which could be easily resolved with the governor. It wasn't until July 1978 that I personally realised that the protest was far more than a local jail dispute. A statement from the IRA camp staff was read out to us, which basically explained that in most military campaigns, when the soldiers are captured at the front line, they are sent to the rear and sit it out until the war ends. However, the statement went on, in this phase of the military campaign, that would not happen. The enemy had not only captured us, but were now involved in a special action which would include us. A 3-pronged military initiative, Ulsterisation, Normalisation and Criminalisation, was being implemented by the British to defeat once and for all the entire Republican movement and to end the fighting in Ireland to their advantage.
Never!
Primarily, criminalisation was going to be the main plank, the soft underbelly, as they thought, in which the enemy would concentrate, believing that if they could crush the prisoners' resistance on the inside and break their fighting spirit, then they could destroy the Republican Army and its allies on the outside, thus causing mass demoralisation within the Republican community. Victory for the British would then be assured. The camp statement ended by calling upon us as Blanketmen to go away and individually look deep within ourselves, to drain out all emotion and to come back out fighting as true sons of Ireland. We were told to dig in, as we were now in the unique position of moving back into the front line of the war, as the H blocks and Armagh prisons were now to become the front line of the struggle. In many ways, the future of the Republican movement per se now rested upon our shoulders and upon us holding the line. After the statement was read out, I distinctly remember a deathly silence descending over the wing in H Block 4. Up until then, we felt that we were close to a resolution of the jail protest. Now a grim realisation set in. I remember Jimmy Conway from Belfast shouting into Seamus Kearny, "Or Hulatu Shin, did you hear that?" referring to the statement. Scobie replied that he had heard it. Jimmy then shouted back, "Hey, why? Good night." Some of us had a fair knowledge of world history, including myself. I was an avid reader of history before I was captured. In the summer of 480 BC, 300 Spartans assembled at the Hat Gates at Thermopylae in northern Greece to form a human barricade against the overwhelming Persian army of King Xerxes to prevent the overall defeat of Greece. They were 300 free men who refused to be enslaved and whose free will no man could break. Likewise, some of us felt that we too, the 300 plus Blanketmen, would now also form a human barricade against the superior and powerful forces of the British Empire, intent on destroying not only us as free men, but our 800-year freedom struggle. We were determined not to allow ourselves or our struggle to be criminalised. The hand of history was now upon us. The 300 Spartans were led by their charismatic leader, King Leonidas. We too, the 300 Blanketmen, were also led by our own charismatic leaders in the shape of Oaklach, Brendan Hughes, the Dark. Oaklach Bobby Sands and Oaklach Vic. These leaders of men, Brendan Hughes, Bobby Sands, Vic McFarlane, led us through the darkest days of the blanket protest with valour, with honour and distinction. The British were absolutely determined to break us, and we equally were absolutely determined not to be broken. We were lockjawed into a bitter and protracted struggle, starting on the 16th of September 1976, when the first Blanketman, Oaklach Kieran Nugent, refused to wear the criminal uniform with the words, "You are going to have to nail that uniform to my back." We turned our bodies into human armalites, resisted and fought our way through years of struggle, forced washes, extreme cold, extreme heat, #1 starvation diets, brutal wing shifts, excrement on the walls, urine on the floors, and maggots in the corner. The murder search, horrific beatings, scaldings with buckets of water, the gauntlet, and of course, the special punishment block, a low-lying building isolated from the blocks where the Blanketmen were given special treatment by the prison officers' sadistic branch. This branch of prison guards actually enjoyed and relished the job of inflicting pain and suffering upon us. They made our lives hell on earth, and up to this moment in time are still in denial, along with their government. Total sensory deprivation, psyops, solitary confinement and degradation were all methods employed by the British in their pursuit of criminalisation. All human rights and codes of conduct in relation to captured prisoners were pushed to one side by the British. Years after the protest ended, I personally befriended a prison guard, Joe M., who explained to me what had happened from his perspective. He told me when he was on parade in H Block 3 in August 1978, the camp governor walked in and addressed the assembled guards. The governor told them that Her Majesty's government was fed up with these protesting prisoners, as they had now become an international embarrassment to Her Majesty's government. With the recent Cardinal O'Fee visit to the camp, he said the government now needed to end the protest by whatever means at their disposal and to have all the protesting prisoners in prison uniform by Christmas 1978. All normal prison rules and regulations would be put to one side for the duration of this special action against the prisoners. The parade of prison guards were ordered to make life hell for the streakers, as the governor called us, and to drag them into a twilight world where they would rather be dead than be alive. The prison guard told me that they were delighted with this order, as they hated the Blanketmen with a passion and couldn't wait to get their hands on them. He said, quote, "The next wing shift, Kearny, was like a turkey shoot, with prisoners being beaten senseless and their heads being rammed into the steel grills at the end of the wing." Now, years later, this prison officer was a born-again Christian, preferred not to be reminded of that dark period in his life.